Hey guys, welcome back to Karawa Shoujo. But before I get into it though, I'd like to remind you guys to give the video a like and be sure to be safe when you're watching and to enjoy. The last episode, they fought. They made love. And that being said, let's get into it. After being awoken by a sound, I open my eyes with a measure of reluctance. Turning my head to the left, I find rain outside sweeps against the windows loudly, spray after wind-blown spray launches against the glass, as if to bring, as if trying its hardest to make up for the summer's previous heat. I sit, I sit up at the futon, holding the back of my neck, and trying to subdue the pain from my awkward sleeping position. By all accounts, I should be lamenting the turn in the weather, given that this is our last day here. The events of yesterday refuse to stop flooding through my mind. Well, how could they not? It would be hard to stop, considering what happened. The feeling of holding Lily's crying body in my arms, the rush of lust, the hormones that followed through us that we were spent the night together. It seems almost futile to try to rationalize everything that happened. In an attempt to distract myself, I groan and lean over to retrieve my bag without standing. Pulling out one bottle after another, I take the daily regimen's worth of pills from the other containers and swallow them without further ado. It took a surprisingly short amount of time to get used to the swallowing of pills without water. That said, I suppose the same thing goes for getting used to living in a school for disabled students. Remembering Yamaku, I became all more grateful for having the chance to get away, even if it's just for the shortest of times. I appreciate the chance to spend time alone with Lily and Hanako away from the bustle of school life, even considering the last of the complications. I never thought that I'd say it, but the idea of living away from the city in a nice tranquil area is an inviting one. It's a thought that barely a year ago would have seemed as simply ludicrous. A flash of pink, no doubt Hanako's gown, peeks from around the corner. Realizing I must look like a sight, I've already just woken up. I slap the remaining pills into my mouth and run a hand through my hair. Good morning, Hisao. Go. I replied to her, completely forgetting that I'm in the middle of swallowing a particularly large pill. Coughing and spluttering, I violently gag on it. Hisao. After spluttering loudly and tapping my chest a couple of times to force it down, I managed to recover. It's fine. Sorry, I forgot I was swallowing. Sorry, I didn't mean to. I hand up, gesturing for Hanako to stop. I gagged. It's my fault. Morning, Hanako. She pauses a moment before bowing in reply. Walking, no, staggering would be Hanako, the familiar figure of Lily, dressed in her pajamas, with her eyes full of sleep and her hair bed-raggled. She is a sight to behold. Hi, Lily. Good morning, Hisao. For a moment, the silence hangs in the air as neither of us know what to do. Given what happened last night, we both have more than enough reason to be finding. We meant to react to meeting each other after something like that. The best course of action would probably be to talk to Lily alone, to set things in order. I'll start making breakfast. Lily evidently catches onto my train of thought. I'll help, Hanako. Could you set the table? She nods her head and disappearing into a cupboard as she quickly goes to her assigned task. I'll have a little more sleep out of mine as I wander over the fridge and take out some milk, and Lily grabs various brightly colored boxes from some of the lower cupboards to my side. While we make a rather bland-looking meal, While we make a rather bland-looking meal, I whisper somewhat more quietly than usual, knowing Lily's hearing. She won't have any trouble catching what I say. Are you okay after last night? She gives a delicate nod, her expression weak. Though her tiredness usually plays a part, she's genuinely unsure about what's happened between us and how to move ahead. I can't say I blame her, considering my feelings are the same. I'm sorry, Hisao. I wasn't thinking straight yesterday. I never stopped to consider you or Hanako, even when as far as she winding herself up with her hands, voice both tightening, and gave her a gentle bump, try to line the situation. Oh, you did more than light bump, homie. Can I like not, please? Me and my fucking immature ass. You shouldn't have to apologize. I said I liked you as well after all. But as the composure begins to falter, it becomes obvious there's no alternative. Turning to Lily, I gently embraced her tall frame. She offered no resistance at all, thankfully pulling back just before the edge of her emotions. I feel like Hanako, like she's like I mean, she has a lady's intuition, so she knows something fucking went down between the two of them. Despite her desperate or reassuring embrace lasting only a matter of seconds, I noticed Hanako wordlessly watching. The plate in her hand hovers inches over the table. Her action halted midway at the sight. Oh yeah, there's no way Hanako fucking doesn't know. I mean about them fucking, of course, but like I'm talking about like she doesn't know as far as that, but she knows that fucking something happened between the two of them. The clatter of utensils against the plates is the only sound to be heard as we silently eat. Whereas before the only two of us may have been unsure of ourselves, the entire situation has changed. After weeks of blissful friendship, whiling away the days of shared meals and chatter with a little meaning, the relationship of Lily and me, and no, that's not all of us, has irreversibly changed. I can't take this, Lily. She solemnly nods, gently laying her spoon on the plate in front of her. Neither of us know exactly how we regard each other, let alone how Hanako would view us. This might be abrupt, but I've confessed to Hisao. For a moment, Hanako looks almost confused. Precisely the reaction I thought she would have. She evidently nods, her spoon in mouth as she does. Did you accept? I did. She gives a smile so large and so earnest. I find myself blushing, thinking that this is the brightest I've ever seen her expression look. Then I'm happy. I'm really, really happy. Another one of the happy tracks. Well, I mean, it's happy. It can't. It is. I'm sorry for not telling you anything about it before. Things have been. Hanako shakes her head from side to side, empathetically, apparently forgetting her rush that Lily couldn't possibly notice. She begins fiddling her fingers, looking a little bit more nervous than she did before. To be honest, I began to think you might like each other a while ago. At first, I didn't really know what to think about it, but I decided that in the end, if my friends are happy, then I'm happy. It was really glad to have another friend when we met Hisao, so you finding love through him is even better, right? A feeling of relief at her acceptance of our relationship falls over me like a wave of the same happens to Lily, judging by her expression. Thank you, Hanako. I really appreciate you being so understanding. Lily's voice still sounds a little slightly apologetic, or at least unsure. This doesn't escape Hanako, who appears lost in thought for a few moments before turning to me. Hisao, do you mind if Lily go outside for a bit? No, feel free. Hanako? Hanako gets up from her seat, taking Lily's hand, almost dragging her from the table in her excitement. Considering Lily's typically slow and steady pace, Hanako's haste makes her footing awkward as she almost loses her balance a couple times. It's a pretty amusing sight that leaving me wordless as I watch them disappear out the door. It's only now that I realize the pain stopped being replaced by a sky seemingly all the more vivid and bright to make up for the morning drab of the gray expanse. For Hanako, this must be pretty big revelation. Lily and I are really the only people she associates with, almost as if we're the parents in her own stead. I suppose that might well be the best way to describe the relationship we share. A father, mother, and a daughter, all playing around a little make-believe family as if it could last forever. It might be a strange dynamic, and one that certainly can't last for long, but maybe just for this one small amount, it's okay. As I stand from the table and go to join Lily and Hanako in the field outside, I nod to myself in affirmation. This is one small moment of happiness, no matter how brief, it will last with me with all my us forever. Submerged deep in the hot water, I let a drawn out sigh escape my lips. The feeling of seeming slightly muscle in my body relaxing is euphoric. I have no idea how long it's been since I had a genuine hot bath, but right now I can hardly be bothered trying to remember. Maybe I'm giving the simple fact that for once I get to have a real bath for more than credit than it's due. The chance to just calm down, allow myself to unwind, and have some time to judge myself is a welcome one. Hanako, Lilly, and I wandered around the outside, exploring the extent of the surprisingly large tract of land and surrounding the house. Then we spent the majority of the afternoon resting and watching television, reading, and playing cards. It may not have been the most exciting finale to the trip, but such a tranquil peacefulness is something to savor. Even after we return to school tomorrow, I will think I remember this little house in Hokkaido for a long time. It's a pity that we only have a couple more hours to spend before we're going to get the train back. All I can do is yawn contentedly while I watch the stream slowly rising from the clear water's placid surface. My eyes eventually looking into the ceiling. Her exams are imminent. I've barely studied at all for them. On top of that, I don't even know what I'll do after I'll graduate. After graduation, passing exams is all well and good, but to what end? As for now, while I'm getting into a relationship, just what the hell am I doing? I guess I shouldn't think like that. What's done is done. And maybe this could be viewed as just another aspect of my new life that I'm working on. I enjoy being with Lily, and there's no more life of school or career after all. As I busily attempt to rationalize all that's happened, I hear a series of raps on the door. I pick myself up and sit upright, trying to figure out the source. There are no more and no less slight yet assertive of their tapping. The timely regular enough to tune out the metronome. I'd be extremely surprised if it wasn't Lily. May I come in? Yeah, it's Lily. I'm still in the bath. I'll be out in a sec. I know. Ooh. The voice coming from the other side of the door freezes me. After a second's thought, I rest on the side of the bath. I let my arms dangle over the side. Despite trying best to play out, I can't help but letting my mind wander. Sure, come in. But with that, she opens the door, slowly walking into the room and closing it behind her. She looks oddly calm, counting my racing heart. Ah, hey, Lily. Do you mind if I take a bath with you? This is the other song. You mind if I take a bath with you? I don't mind, go ahead. With a small nod, she begins to lift her sweater off her shoulders, baring her chest little by little. I could do that for you, if you'd like. 13 minutes. Refused. Why? Her face so not all overly comfortable letting me attend to her. I can't say that I blame her. She continues undressing, and her skirt falling around in her white lace bra and panties. Everything she stands in bare in center of the room. I can't tell what that is. Compared to last time, it's a lot easier to take in the entire figure. It's a wonderful sight. Hisao? You're thinking perverted thoughts, aren't you? Give me a break. You're undressing in front of me. She furrows her brow in thought. Yeah, dude, like, his girlfriend, you as his girlfriend are fucking getting nude in front of him. I guess that would be somewhat more erotic for you than me. Why? Yup, my man's bricked up in the bathtub. He was a small, light-hearted chuckle, which seems more to settle her nerves a little. If this is too much for you, Hisao, I can come back later. No, this is fine. I'm just a bit, well, you're really beautiful, you know? My earnest comment draws a vivid red blush from Lily. Hisao? I give a small grin. She's cute when she's taken off guard. In any case, may I come in? Sure. I lean forward and take her soft hands in mine, helping her over the side of the bath. She feels out the side of the bathtub and slowly lowers herself in, my breath catching when she sits and leans back in my front. Her legs inside mine, I expected her to sit at the other end. Letting out a long breath, I calm myself. I rest my arms and rest sides of the bath as I struggle to control my urges. Far from missing the side of her assets of the feeling the body gets, mine is surprisingly relaxing. Even if it's so sensitive to touch, it must be all the more so for her. You run your baths quite hot, don't you? You run your baths quite hot, don't you? A bit. Do you want me to run some cold water down for a bit? She gives a small shake of her head. No, this is fine. Okay. The conversation comes to an abrupt end, like silence taking over. A very long and very awkward silence. Maybe this was a bit too... No, don't worry, it's okay. Yeah, she can feel that fucking boner poking her in the lower back. The track. The situation only becomes even more awkward, as if to distract myself. Lily runs her free hand over her legs while holding one breast for modesty. I'd say you're long past the point of modesty, but alright. Still idly watching the wall ahead of me, there's the steam, rising steam. Even now again, I steal a glimpse at her body. I mean, you gotta keep some form of decency, I suppose. While this white of her skin glistens, it keeps signaling her hand over her leg with strength and more tone more obvious. You know, compared to Akira, you look a lot more foreign. I took him after my mother's side genetically. Akira took after my father's more. I guess that makes sense. How on earth did a native Scot and a Japanese businessman meet anyways? My mother was a journalist. She met my father while she was at a conference in Inverness. He met Inverness. I see. Taking after Scottish, how to explain your height, I suppose. I look back down as he nods. It's the ridiculousness of the situation. This is really too much, isn't it? You're enjoying it though, aren't you? In some ways, yes. I guess things turned out okay in the end. Everything settled down. Hanako took our relationship well and will be going back to school tomorrow. Indeed, it's a shame to be going back so soon, but we still have our memories of this place. Memories, huh? I suppose so. We'll have to see how everything goes once we get back, but for now, I'm just glad you like me. I've been winding myself up for weeks about that, so I'm grateful for things turning out like this. She nods. She's not leaning against me, leaning into me as we share the warmth of our bodies. I'm not sure whether she'll be okay with it or not, but my temptation rapidly begins to get the better of me, my self-restraint. Hey, Lily? Yes? How was it last night, that is? She pauses in thought before looking down slightly. A delicate smile finds its way to her own lips as she blushes. Her body becoming more relaxed is more than enough to answer the question. Even if I gave a small nod in response, the thoughts of last night run through my mind. Considering the situation, I don't really think anyone would blame me. Hisao, your heart's beating. The voice was cut off as I delicately placed a hand on her thigh while I resisted before the memory of our first night is enough to make me give in. She lets her body lean into mine without a word of protest, an invitation that I'd be hard put to ignore. I placed a small kiss on her neck to accept, moving my hand over her smooth legs. Hisao, please. Even if she says that, her mouth curls upward into a small, her tone caught between embarrassment and awkward giggling. Eventually, she takes my hand and guides it in hers, guiding into her right breast. I generally accept the tentative guidance she's willing to give me. A slight tension in her body grew. I continue to take in the feeling of her soft skin, redoubled as my other hand is slipping between her legs. I wonder if the feeling in my hands is exaggerated by lack of sight, since her other sense seemed fine-tuned. She does seem to be enjoying it by surprising extent after all. It gives me a somewhat odd feeling, but a pleasurable one. It only takes a few minutes for her body starts to squirm ever so slightly. Her efforts to stifle her moaning become more visible as she purses her lips. Her light-hearted whispered protestations become noticeably more quiet. This makes me realize that her squirming against my body made me increasingly excited as well. Lily. I withdraw my hands to give her a chance. Addled senses time to respond. Nodding, she stands and offers her hands for me to lead out her cramped bathtub. And a cute ass. Her maneuvers herself out of the bath, and so do I. Our hands holding each other's. I eventually sit beside the bathtub, the two of us fussing around a little until we get comfortable. With a small gasp, desperately constrained to avoid being audible outside, she lowers herself onto me once again. She moves and makes it obvious that she must still be on the verge of her climax. She slowly starts to move her lips up and down, her tongue finding mine as she holds my face upwards. I realize just how much pleasure in her has excited me. Despite her clouded eyes being shut, her tightening grip on my shoulders, now that she's nearing the end of her endurance, as our breathing becomes more and more ragged, I rapidly feel my limit approaching as well. As a series of harsh breaths, the only warning before I finally grasp ecstasy, her entire body tensing and her fingernails digging into my shoulders. My loins and hers, both of us frozen and against each other in climax. And he nutted again. Okay, aside from the obvious contraceptions, condoms, I'm assuming that Lily's on some form of fucking birth control, I imagine. I would imagine. A few precious seconds is all over. Lily slumping forward as one I try to regain myself. That was good. She takes a gulp of air before replying, steadying herself as she does. She bows her head down and gives me a small kiss. My hand reaching up to her, holds strands of her disheveled hair as once again we sit in blissful silence. After a chaotic dash to the station, after finding our seats in the otherwise deserted carriage, we promptly crashed, looking at the same time, close to midnight. It's a little surprised that if you take this particular train. Hanako is fast asleep on Lily's shoulder, and I can only barely muster the energy to stay awake. The excitement we had a while ago probably didn't help. I'd probably be pretty depressed about going back to school if my brain was actually working. As it is, though, the sight of the nighttime scenery is scrolling by. It's surprisingly beautiful. My loud yawn is nearly wholly drowned out by the clacking of the train tracks and the old carriages rattling. So tired. And whose fault was that, Hisao? Another one of the feel-good tracks of the game. And who's Hisao? She really does toe the line between insulting and amusing sometimes. I thought they managed to bring out a weary smile. I looked back out the window, my reflection just as visible as the clear plain. Truth be told, she's perfectly correct. If it weren't for that little interlude a few hours ago, both of us would have a lot more energy. On top of that, we had to take another bath, nearly making us late for another train's departure. Yeah, it was mine. Still getting the bath, the guy's dangerous thing to do. Evidently. Sorry, I guess I kind of took advantage of the situation back there. Well, I didn't exactly hate it. As she trails off, I look back at her eyes narrow as her slightly reddened cheeks are a small grin. Her mind obviously elsewhere. Say it. I knew the possibility of it happening was there. I knew it. You're just as dirty-minded as I am. She quickly coughs at her free hand, making her disapproval crystal clear. That's a rather crude way of putting it. Oh, and you would suggest I merely have a healthy adolescent sex drive. In other words, dirty-minded. Almost seeming to sense at the moment, Hanako mumbles quietly as she furrows her brow in Lily's lap. Lily's look of disapproval melts away as she gently smiles and strokes her hand on Hanako's long dark hair. All I can do is watch and smile. If someone were to ask me when I fell in love with her, I wouldn't be able to answer. The best I'd be able to come up with, it just happened at some point, but I didn't realize it. If someone were to ask me why I love her, though, then I could answer much more easily. You really love Hanako, don't you? She gives a deep nod, smiling warmly. It's a pity we have to return to school tomorrow. She seemed more relaxed so much we're all away. Oh, wrong thing. I'm this is a gray area for me because like I remember every decision but not their consequences. Like I know which I have to pick. It's just that for the ones that have no consequence, I always deliberate a little bit. But let's go with the safe option. I wouldn't worry. Hanako's been gaining confidence thanks to you, at least, for as long as I've known you two. She gives a self-deprecating sigh. I might merely provided her with company and support. Since she came to know you, she's opened so much more even to me. I get the feeling she's under, understanding her influence on Hanako, especially given that before the two came to know each other, Hanako had no friends to speak of. There are friends I had in my previous school fulfilled what I'd have expected of them, for the most part simply being there for idle chatter. But Hanako and Lily here, really, there really feels much to be more into their relationship. A part of me envies it, but another can't ignore the fact that the school year will eventually end. After graduation, I really have no idea what Hanako will do. This trip has shown me just how much we've all come to depend on each other. Indeed, we're all going to have to make decisions. Maybe that's the reason why, despite our own return to school also heralding a return to the normalcy of everyday life, I can't help but feeling a little restless. On the bright side, we it won't take long for the summer holidays to arrive after our exams are finished. We could come back here during the summer holidays if you want. For the moment, she thinks on the notion, her face becoming somewhat distant. I can only guess she's reflecting on all that's happened here. That would be good, I think. I nod approvingly, smiling at her. The summer together with Lily, this idea seems like the perfect way to spend our holiday. Act 4, future. We're actually nearing the end of this path, actually, of the Lily path. After the excitement of the group of our trip to Hokkaido, it seems strange to be right back to the usual daily routine so soon. Indeed, it feels like a normal day, the same as any other. Well, that's what I like to think anyway. To tell the truth, the atmosphere of the entire class, no, the entire school has changed. While an undercurrent of subdued trepidation had previously pervaded the class, now that the exams are in sight, it's boiled over to frantic studying, rarely seen otherwise. One day until exams start, it's horrific, really. Instead of studying, we wasted our time up north, where we were such model students too. Glancing around the class, even the bubbly, ever-energetic Nisha seems oddly deflated. She sits at her desk, nervously chewing on a pen while Moto lectures from the front of the class. Wait, on closer inspection, I do believe she's eating it. Tearing my eyes from this sorry spectacle, I turn my attention elsewhere. Hanako sits frantically scribbling in her notebook, her face merely inches away from the page, seemingly trying to record every word that leaves Moto's mouth. Shizuna is cool as a cucumber. She is diligently taking notes with her attention wholly focused on the front of her class. Truth be told, it's what I should be doing as well, if not for the fact that I feel like I have a pretty good handle on what's being covered, really. I wonder how Lily's doing. While she does have a good ahead of her, she has plenty on her plate, unlike me. Her glass, fuck. Her class representative duties taking care of Hanako and other social contacts, her extra English studies, and that girl really does take on a lot. The lunchtime bell rings, a sigh of relief from the entire class, Moto being no exception. I get the feeling he much prefers the more laid-back atmosphere of his normal class to the frantic pace of exam preparation we're subjected to right now. Hee-chan, help me. I lower eyelids a half mast, clearing my clear intention of doing quite the opposite. Help me, help me, help me. Not going well. Shi-chan's gonna be fun, but I think I might die. Am I going to die, He-chan? Will you let me die from all this work? How maudlin? Given she's neither the brightest student in the class nor the most intelligent, it isn't the great surprise that she's finding it hard to cope with the workload. Well, that being said, that is all the time that I have for now. But before I end things off, though, I'd like to remind you guys to subscribe and get that bell on. That way you'll be notified when I upload or when I stream. And follow my socials. You can find them in the description below, as well as the about section of my YouTube channel. And join the Discord. You can find the link, like I said, in the description below, or in the about section of my channel. But yeah, we're actually nearing the end of the Lilly route. But that being said, I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.